What's up, everybody? Guess what? We are back with another episode.
And it didn't take us 1.5 years. What did we tell you? We'll be back.
Right. Like always, you're here joined with your host, Leslie Thompson. And I'm here with my lovely co-host,
Tikoya Thompson. And we even have a special guest in the studio. He might not make an appearance, which is fine with us. But we got the sleeping baby strapped on to my stomach, sucking on a pacifier for the first time.
Yep, exactly, guys. But, this is a very special episode for us. Like we said, we told you guys in the last episode, we actually have a newborn now, and he is just over 4 weeks. Or he's coming on. He's going to be 4 weeks.
He'll be 4 weeks on Sunday. It is Friday as we record.
Exactly. So, this special episode, we're going to be talking about our birth story. And everything that entailed. Tikoya and we decided to do a at-home unmedicated birth. And that was quite the journey. First-time parents, first time experiencing anything like that. And we're happy to just break that down and tell you guys how we really felt. And also, maybe Tikoya would want to give some advice, just based on her experience to anyone that may be considering doing something like that moving forward. But Tikoya, I just want to start off and ask you, because you actually brought this to my attention. You told me that it's something that you wanted to do, and you asked me if I was okay with it. So why did you want to do an at-home unmedicated birth?
I mean, you're right. I did want to do a home birth long before I was pregnant. It actually came because a class I took in college, I'm not even sure what class showed this, but there was a documentary I watched in college called The Business of Being Born by Ricky Lake. If anybody is a woman, maybe giving birth anytime soon, or you kind of just want to know about your options, I would definitely recommend watching that documentary. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I mean, there's a lot to unpack, but just kind of in a nutshell, if you think about it, women have been giving birth for millennia without doctors and hospitals. Mammals in general, your dog gives birth, your cat gives birth, an orangutan at the zoo gives birth, and there's not really a whole medical team around them. So birth is just something that's very natural, and God created our bodies, and he created us able to give birth. He made our bodies perfectly capable of giving birth by ourselves, or at home with midwives. So that's just basically in a nutshell. There's a few other things. I am a woman of color, and even though I wasn't too worried about it here in Oregon itself, and that's just my opinion, but in other places the statistics are actually quite high for infant mortality rates and the mother, I think it's called maternal mortality rates, so the woman or the baby dying in hospital is just higher for women of color in general. So, and not even just dying, just like an emergency C-sections or intervention of any kind is a lot higher when you're in a medical hospital situation. So I just wanted to do things naturally. I wanted to give birth to my baby and not have had a whole bunch of drugs given to me, because I can make the baby be born really sleepy and tired and kind of affect the bonding. That was a big thing for me, is I wanted to just give birth and bond right away with my baby. So those are the two biggest reasons. So I knew my body could do it, and I wanted to be able to not put any medications into my baby, for instance.
Yeah. Okay. And we're gonna definitely let you tell your story. I feel like it's very special, the fact that you're telling it, because you're the one that experienced everything from the labor to giving birth. But I want to ask you, what was your mindset leading into it? How did you feel about knowing that, okay, I may be 2 days out, or he could be due any day, And this is something that I'm going to be doing, unmedicated. Like, I'm not stressing it, but...
I can't stress it enough.
Unmedicated. But how did you feel going into that?
It's actually funny. So I watched that documentary in college, like I told you, but I kind of had this thought that, by the time I'm actually pregnant, I'm going to chicken out. I'm going to be like everyone else, and I'm just going to go to the hospital. But before I was even pregnant, I think the Lord blessed me and put on my radar something called Hypno Birthing. And that's something that I studied and read about. I literally listened to a 10-hour audiobook on it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on it, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually went into the birth and was calmly excited for the birth, which is a lot better than being scared and being afraid, which is how most women feel. And for those of you that don't know what hypnobirthing is, it sounds like woo-woo, but it's not what it sounds like. You're not put to sleep. It's not some medallion swinging in a pendulum in front of your face. It's really just understanding, once again, they kind of just go into how your body gives birth, what your body does to show you that you know how to give birth, that your body knows how to do it. And then it encourages you to listen to positive birth affirmations, positive pregnancy affirmations, and to watch positive birth stories on YouTube, which, by the way, guys, I don't have my birth story on YouTube yet, but I did film the whole thing, and I will be editing that and throwing it on my YouTube here soon. So if you're listening to this, you might be able to pop over to Tikoya Monique and see it. But yeah.
And actually, just to cut in, one of it was very interesting to me watching you like go through the program and stuff like that, because I really like how they sort of like try to change your mindset on how you view certain things. So for instance, one thing that really stuck out to me was, we usually say contractions when you're in labor, you have contractions, but they would say that actually view it as
a surge.
Yeah, a surge or a wave. And I think that's really important, because I'm really big on like affirmations and speaking positively even when it's tough. So just to see that being used for something like this, it was very interesting to watch.
And it's just like, it's like little things. So for instance, with what Leslie's saying, when you're thinking about, for instance, what they might say at a hospital, how painful was that contraction? You don't want to, you might say, oh, well, that was a 6, but you know that it's going to get to a 10. Are you going to look forward to a painful, like a level 6 painful contraction, or a level 7 or 8 or 9? You're not going to be looking forward to that. But if you're asking like how intense was that surge, you can say it's a 6, and all of a sudden going to a 7, 8, or 9 or 10 isn't as scary, because intensity is good. That means you're getting closer to having your baby. Or no, it wasn't intense. The word powerful. How powerful were those surges? So, a powerful surge is good because it means your baby's getting closer and your body's doing more work. So it's just, it's a lot about just the way you think about it and the language you use in and during the birth. So I would definitely recommend, if you're having any type of birth, whether you're getting an epidural or having a scheduled C-section, no matter what, I would definitely look into hypnobirthing. It just helps you mentally prepare for the birth. And like I said, I started week 8 when I found out, I started when I found out I was pregnant. So like 5 weeks pregnant, I started looking into this stuff and practicing it. So like I said, I went into the birth very confident. Now, ask me how I felt during it. We'll get to that. Yeah. We'll get to that.
And honestly, with going into it, I'd say I wasn't worried. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't use that word. I wouldn't say I was worried, because I did trust you. And one thing I can say about you, whenever you fix your mind on something, you do follow through with it. So I know that it was a big task to give birth, and I felt like it wasn't my place to really say that, oh, that's very dangerous, so I don't think you should do the at-home birth. You should just go to the hospital and let them, I trusted you because it's your body. So,
I mean, you did ask me if I was sure a lot of it. Like, you sure you don't want any pain medication? Like, you sure? Like, and like, you're like, wait, so the midwives aren't going to have any pain medication? And I was like, no. And you're like, I just want to make sure you're okay. Like, you've never felt birth before.
Yeah.
So, but I know it came from just a place of like you really caring for me, and you didn't want me to put myself in a corner that I couldn't get out of. So,
No.
but I did just let you know, hey, babe, it's more helpful for me that if you just really do trust and believe in me. And you did do that very well.
Yeah. Paint the picture for us. When did it all start?
All right. So, yes, let's get into my birth story. And I will just let people know this is obviously a birth story. So if you're a little squeamish, just know that there's going to be some things in here, but nothing too bad. But so I was actually late, quote unquote late, not really late, but past my due date, I'll say. My water actually broke at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday. It was 7th, 8th, 9th. It was the 7th, January 7th, and I was due on January 1st. So I was actually 41 weeks, 1 day pregnant, very, very pregnant. And it was actually pretty special how it happened. Leslie's mom and sister were here waiting for the baby to be born. His sister actually had to go back home because he was taking so long to get here. And so it was just Leslie, his mom, and I. We were at the dinner table about to eat dinner, hadn't eaten it yet. And we were opening up for the Sabbath. So we were sitting around the table. We were praying. I myself was sitting on our green yoga ball with my head in a chair that the tall chairs they were sitting on. So I'm down there on the yoga ball. We're doing our prayers afterwards. We were going around talking about what we were thankful for. And when it came to my part, I just said, I'm thankful that even though it's been a week past my due date, we all in the house had caught COVID during my due date. So a few days before my due date, we all caught COVID, and it was going to make the birth a little bit more difficult to have to wear a mask and to only have one midwife and et cetera, et cetera. So we were all had tested negative for COVID at this time. So I said I was thankful that the baby hadn't come yet and that we were all negative for COVID. And that I guess, what they say is true, that it's all going to happen in God's perfect timing, that the baby is going to come when it is perfectly his timing. At that point, I stood up from the yoga ball and I was like, oh, I thought I was peeing myself, as they say. But no, my water broke, and it wasn't a small amount. It was a lot. Like, it was gushing. And I was like, I think my water's breaking. And they're like, what? No. And I started like walking to the bathroom, and it just kept going. Like, literally, Leslie's like, oh, don't move. You're like making a trail of it. I was like, babe, I need to get to the toilet. We can wipe it up with a towel later on. So I just thought it was like, what's wrong? Sorry, babies. He doesn't want it. Do you want the book? Do you want it? Okay. Anyways, so yeah, Leslie was telling me to stand in one place because I was dripping or gushing water, but I was, walking to the toilet. But anyways, I thought it was funny that the baby just came in a dramatic fashion right after I said he'll come in perfect timing, and I stood up and my water broke. But anyway, so yeah, that was 5:30 on Friday. And I pretty much went right into having pretty strong contractions immediately. So much so that we had made some, what was that? What are those ribs? Like beef ribs. And like, there was a great, delicious dinner waiting to be had. All I had was one meal that day. I was ready to eat. Well, no, these contractions came on quickly. So I lost my appetite. My contractions started immediately 2 minutes apart, and it was back labor. And I know a lot of people listening won't necessarily know what back labor is, and you don't know it until you experience it, but it is very intense. I remember that the only position I liked was being on my knees, on my hands and knees on our bed, right? And I was trying to have Leslie give me counter pressure when the contractions would happen. Now, mind you, I'm really big and really pregnant. I couldn't sit on my knees in that position for maybe more than 5 minutes without being through this. Guys, I sat in that position on my hands and knees for 5 hours straight. Yeah. Like, as soon as the contraction started happening, I was just like on there, like breathing through it, like having a hard time. Like, I thought I would be mentally prepared through all my hypno birthing to be able to breathe, 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and then 8 counts out. I was telling Leslie to count for me because as soon as the contraction would come on, I couldn't count in my head or out loud or otherwise. So needless to say, my water broke, and it kind of just started really quickly, and I wasn't expecting that. that was really tough for me. I expected to maybe have a contraction here and then maybe another one 10 minutes later and whatever they say, but mine just started coming right away, 2 minutes apart, and pretty strong. So much so that Leslie ended up calling the midwife. Eventually she came over. She thought I was in active labor. Yeah. We even filled up the pool. Leslie was excited. He thought he was getting his baby that night. And that it was go time. But by the time I got in the pool, which I just got in there, I just needed some relief. Things kind of slowed down a little bit. But yeah, so 5:30 to about 12:30, I was in that position and then moved to the pool for like an hour or so. When my midwife suggested that I try to lay down and get some sleep because it seemed like things were slowing down. And I don't want to make this too long, but I got out of the pool, ended up kind of going to sleep that night. But by the time the morning came, the contractions had stopped completely. Yeah. Saturday morning at 8 a.m. when I woke up, I wasn't having contractions anymore.
Yeah. That was quite an experience as well, right? Because in my mind, I thought that after active labor, once active labor is here, it's like, okay, it's go time. My son is going to be here at any time this night. Like I was posting on Snapchat, like, yo, okay, guys, it's go time. He's on his way. But then, I went to sleep in the other room. I actually didn't sleep inside the bed with her. The midwife ended up sleeping, laying in the bed with her. I kept gushing every time I was contracted. Man, don't remind me.
Gushing water, gushing the fluid, not anything else.
But I slept in a different room. I tried to stay up most of the night because I thought he was going to come. But I finally passed out and woke up, and the whole other day, it was weird. She went out of active labor. So my mind was like, what is going on? Is this possible? Like, how could you go out of active labor once you're in active labor? So it was I don't want to say anticlimactic.
I mean, for you probably. Yeah, for me, it was like, thank you, Jesus, I have a break,
Yeah.
I just forgot. I lost my train of thought about what I was going to say. You said it was anticlimactic. But yeah, I mean, it was probably anticlimactic for you, but for me, I woke up and I was happy to not be in that situation anymore. Yeah, so by the morning time, the contraction stopped. And unfortunately, when your water breaks, it kind of puts you on a timer to have the baby. And I think you can labor for up to 72 hours before they'll pretty much just put you right into a C-section because there's just a heightened risk of infection since the baby's no longer around all that fluid. So when the next day when my contraction stopped, the midwife left, but she said she was going to come back with what's called a midwife's brew. And that's essentially like this concoction that they make. It's lemon verbena tea, apricot juice, almond butter, and castor oil, and they make it like a smoothie. They blend it all up together, and it's supposed to make you go back into labor or go into labor if you haven't at all. So it's like a natural way to induce yourself. So I was doing some things while the midwife was gone, trying to get myself back into labor, but honestly, it was mentally hard because I had a taste of labor the night before. It was a lot harder and faster and stronger than I had anticipated. So although I knew I needed to go back into labor to finish it was just hard. Like I just went through something hard and I was like, you guys want me to do this again and it's actually going to be worse because the midwife did check me that night. She checked me Friday night and I was 3 centimeters dilated. So I had a long ways to go. But anyways, nevertheless, she came back. She made me a midwife's brew. 4 hours later, we did another midwife's brew. And let me tell you, those midwife's brew made me very tired. So after the first one, I was a little bit tired. After the second one, I was out of it. And my contractions started coming back. And this was like 8 p.m. on Saturday night. I started contracting and I was just tired. And it was not 2 minutes apart, but still painful. That night was actually really hard. The midwife did not stay with me overnight. So Leslie was sleeping in the bed. His mom was out in the living room sleeping. The cat was sleeping. The dog was sleeping. Nobody was stirring, not even a mouse. And yet I am sitting on my green yoga ball because laying down is extremely uncomfortable and painful. I literally stayed up all night sitting on my yoga ball on the edge of my bed. I mean, it was hard. All night, y'all. And like, let me tell you, there was probably like a good 5 to 8 minutes in between contractions. So I could, if I wanted to, lean over on the bed and catch some sleep if I wanted to, take some weight off myself, sleep. But when the contraction would come on, it would be very painful in that position. So I would have to hurry up, and you're really pregnant, so you can't hurry up. Try to like mosey my way to sit straight up on the ball. When I was sitting straight up on the ball, it didn't hurt as bad. So what did I do? I opted in to not get those few minutes of sleep and just stay straight up and down on that ball because I didn't like the pain of the feeling of the birth. So I literally sat straight up. I remember at one point I kind of did that thing where you like fall to the side. You know, I'm 41 weeks pregnant, y'all, on this ball, and I just feel like whoosh, like I'm about to fall. That was the only time that happened. Other than that, I was straight up on that ball.
Yeah, and I actually specifically remember that night because
oh, you do?
I was
sleep?
Man, I was so tired, right? I was so tired, guys. I'm sorry, but I passed out. And I kind of feel bad because it's like I'm sleeping, right? I'm tired. But I know that she's actually, you know, going through like pain and stuff like that. But I specifically remember I was sleeping. And I turn over, you know, kind of wake up in the middle of the night. Open my eyes. It's the weirdest thing. I just see her sitting down by the bed, bouncing on this ball, and it's dark inside the room. Keep in mind, I just see her like, you know, her silhouette just bouncing. I said, "Are you up?" She said, "Yeah, I'm up. I can't go to sleep." And that was just kind of a little funny moment for us. Yeah. But I ended up did I ever go back to sleep after that?
Babe, you were, that was the only thing you said, and then all I heard was just snoring coming back again. It's like, must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah, me and sleep, man.
But yeah, needless to say, that was a really tough night as well, just because I was up all night. But by the time morning came, it was Sunday morning, and I was back in active labor. And all day Sunday, I was in active labor, and once again, guys, the mental toughness was back. It was hard. It was really hard. Leslie asked me, how did I feel coming into the into the birth? And I felt good, confident. I knew my body could do this. I thought I could breathe it. I was hoping for a supernatural birth, of like an unpainful birth, you know. Guys, it was painful. And the thing is it wasn't even that painful. What it was is they kept telling me, oh, just, you know, one contraction at a time. You know, your body can do anything for 60 seconds. But I knew that births can be hours long, y'all. Like, it's literally Sunday. My water broke on Friday. And I was like, and I kept asking, I was like, y'all, how long is this going to take? Like, this, like, I don't want to do this for much longer. Like, how long is this going to take? Because it's just hard. When you're having a contraction every few minutes, an hour takes forever, let alone 9 in a day or whatever.
Yeah, it actually got to the point where you didn't even want them to check how far along you were dilated, because it was more of a mental thing at that point. You knew that, okay, if I'm not even, last time they checked, you were 3 centimeters. So you're like, okay, if I'm not even 6 centimeters by now, that means I have way more to go. Be really hard and I'm already close to my point.
Yeah. I mean, that would be hard to know. And also, they didn't want to check too much anyways because, once again, risk of infection. And when you're going through contractions, you don't want to do anything. Like every few minutes, like even them checking my blood pressure or something, they're like, oh, let's wait till the next contraction. I was like, yes, you're going to wait. I don't want nobody to touch me. This is just uncomfortable and hurtful. But that day in particular, it was, like I said, I'll even say, that day made me feel like not proud of myself. Like after I had the baby and stuff, I didn't think that I did a good job, because even though I didn't vocalize it very much, in my head, I was trying to escape. Like I was thinking, okay, so I could go to the hospital and get an epidural. Like I wanted an epidural, but the idea of riding in a car in that condition was, there was no way I was going to get into a car, because it would just be so uncomfortable and painful. And then I was like, plus if I get to the hospital and I'm not, I think you have to be at least 6 centimeters dilated, then they're not going to give me an epidural, or I'll get there and I'm too far gone and I can't get an epidural, or they'll give me an epidural and it doesn't work. You know, there's nothing to say that going to the hospital will make it better, but when you get to that state, and a lot of women, when they're in the hospital, when they get to that state, they want to leave the hospital. You just think removing yourself from wherever you're at will help, and you're just trying to find an escape. I remember they suggested Leslie and I take a shower together, but I ended up wanting my yoga ball in there, and I sat on the yoga ball while the hot water ran on me, and Leslie and I were alone for a minute, and I just remember crying to you, babe, and I told you, like, I just wanted to escape, like, I think I was trying to be tough for everybody, and I was afraid to show people that I was afraid. So by the time I was alone with Leslie in the bathroom, I just started crying, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I think I want to go to the hospital and blah, blah, blah. What, do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. And I was really sympathetic to you because just the things that they were saying that you have to do to go through this process. Like, for instance, the contractions. At first, when you had the first night after you went out of active labor, you were doing things with your body, like almost like fighting the contractions, like tightening up. But the midwife was actually saying that when you feel that, you have to give in to the pain. You have to like relax
and like flop your body, let your body
give your body into it, because that's actually helping the process. And just think about how tough that is. Like, whenever you feel pain, you want it to stop. You want to prevent it. Like, your body automatically tenses up. But it's like a mental shift, having to like just succumb
let the pain
to this.
mean like relax and
let
feel
the pain
it.
take over. And I was definitely feeling it for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, but luckily after the shower, I had, well, luckily or not luckily, my midwives, they take meticulous notes, by the way. You don't even know that they're taking notes, and you don't even realize what the heck they're taking notes of, but they're like, Tikoya, do you realize you've been drinking a lot of water and you haven't peed in over 5 hours? And I was like, no, guys, I'm in labor. I don't know what I've been doing. So they said that I needed to try to go. Otherwise, they were going to have to give me a catheter, which, guys, I had never had a catheter in my life. But the idea of a catheter has always scared me. Like putting a tube in your urethra, like that doesn't sound like fun, let alone while you're in labor. Well, long story short, I told them I felt like I needed to go number 2. And I thought that the reason that because I needed to go number 2 was the reason why I wasn't able to go number 1. I don't know. That was what my head was thinking, like, oh, there must be, a blockage down there that's making it to where I can't go pee. And they're like, well, okay, well, let's just go in the bed. We'll give you the catheter. And one of the midwives, she's actually training to be a midwife. She's like, she's like, how about we check you as well? Like this will have been my second cervical check since Friday. And here we are like nighttime Sunday, evening Sunday. So we go in the bed, they give me a catheter. It's actually not as bad as it sounded. It wasn't painful really at all. And then they check me and they say, Tikoya, you're 10 centimeters dilated. Like, you're ready to go. It's go time. It's push time. Guys, I was so happy to hear that. And they're like, that sensation to go number 2, that's probably, that is what the pushing stage feels like. You probably are ready to push. And so another lovely thing happened. I think it was probably like at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half between the active labor I was in, where I was wanting to escape, how I was feeling in the shower, before the pushing phase started. So like all contractions stopped for like an hour, which I felt was like a little blessing from God. Like I needed it. He knew I was trying to escape, and I was praying to him. How many times did I call out Jesus' name?
A lot.
I was calling the Holy Spirit, the Heavenly Father. I would say it I was like, Holy Spirit be with me, Jesus Christ be with me, Heavenly Father be with me. Like I was calling all the Trinities, like please be with me. So it was nice to have like a break between them. We got the pool ready again, and it was showtime, guys. So that was Sunday night, and about around 7:30 p.m. that we're in the pool, and everybody's excited. My sister's there. She has she's recording video on my phone, and then she has her phone with my mom and my other sister on FaceTime. Yeah. Mama Luann's here, Leslie's here. Everybody pulls up a chair, and they're ready to watch me push this baby out. And let me tell you guys, I was a champ. I did it in just like an hour or 2. At least that's what it felt like. I was actually pushing starting from 7:30 p.m. and the baby wasn't born until 11:13 p.m. y'all. Like I thought it was quicker than that.
Guys, it was so long now. I'm sitting there by the pool. My back and my butt started to hurt. I literally had to stand up. This is on video. I'm not lying. I had to stand up, step out of the room, and stretch. That's how long we were there, man.
Oh, did you have to stretch because your butt was sore? I'm so sorry, Hunty. Labor was hard for you, wasn't it?
But that's just how long we were there. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, so, we're almost to the end of the story. So the pushing phase starts. The only thing I'll have to say about that is, holy cow, the uterus is a strong muscle. The pushing sensation before the crowning part, before the ring of fire, wasn't actually really painful for me. It was just really just a very strong sensation. I remember I was only in the pool for maybe 30 minutes when they had told me, hey, if you want some encouragement, you can put a finger inside you. You'll probably be able to feel the baby's head. Guys, I put my finger inside me, and there was like not even an inch or two in there. Like literally right there, I could feel something squishy. It did not feel like a head. And I remember I told them, I was like, oh, I feel something, but it's not the baby's head. They're like, no, it's the baby's head. I'm like, no, I don't believe you. Like, I don't know. I was out of it, but it was the baby's head. So I'm pushing, and we get to the point of the ring of fire, and I'm not trying to scare nobody here. So this is the part where the medication would have really helped. But that was it. That was painful. Active labor was painful, but it was more of a mentally game. Like, oh, this is just taking forever. How long is I gonna have to do this? The crowning part, it was painful, but our bodies are able to do it. I was definitely screaming. When I do my YouTube video, I'm going to have some lovely Sarah McLachlan music or something playing over that so it looks beautiful and it doesn't sound like bloody murder. Yeah. But we end up pushing. I do get the baby's head out. Now, this is interesting. While I'm pushing the baby's head out, the most painful part, the midwife, I remember her saying like, and mind you guys, I have 3 midwives with me, so there's 3 of them. She's like, okay, Tikoya, and by the way, did we tell you what we're going to do if like the body doesn't come out right or something like that? I remember her saying something like that, but then I'm like pushing. I didn't hear anything else. So apparently Leslie was saying, oh yeah, they were telling you like, we're going to get out of the pool. You're going to go in the hallway. They got Chuck's pads there, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. So anyways, the head comes out and I immediately feel some relief. And I was like, oh, okay. And I reached down there and I can feel his head. Everything's great. And they're like, okay, great. So on the next contraction, push, nice big push again. And the body will probably come out. And so I'm sitting there waiting and no contractions come. And, we're just kind of waiting for the contractions to come. And I'm just breathing, knowing it's going to happen at some point. And happy that the head's out, And then all of a sudden the midwife is like, oh, okay, it's been 4 minutes. And they're like, all right, Tikoya, you got to stand up. We got to get out of the pool. Get out of the pool and get on your hands and knees. I was like, huh?
And hold on, guys, let me just say, this is where I feel like the whole vibe changed, right? Because it went from peaceful. Like,
we're playing this Hypno Birthing app, Hypno Birthing app with this beautiful like dun 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 music and positive affirmations going.
Yeah, so it went from peaceful. We had
warm water.
We had like a little light around the pool,
twinkly lights.
Quiet. Tikoya just screaming whenever contraction would go on. Let me just say, if you guys know Tikoya, right? Tikoya has a very interesting personality. And I'm going to see if I could edit a piece of the audio to show you guys what I mean. Tikoya has a very interesting personality. She prides herself on, I wouldn't say being the star of the show, but like making people laugh. She loves to make people laugh, right? Would you guys believe that in between her contractions, she was actually cracking jokes? She was making jokes. Everyone was laughing. I've never seen like this yet. I'm like, yo, are you okay? Is this like a defense mechanism because you're just trying to hide how you really feel? But anyways, so like you're saying, so after that happened, right, the mood just completely changed. It went from everyone's just waiting, quietness, to all of a sudden like an action movie, like da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Like things start to happen quickly after she got out of the pool.
Yeah, so they tell me to stand up, and someone is, like, helping me out of the pool. Now, mind you, I have a baby's head, like, in between my legs, which Leslie, his plan was to not look, but he ended up inevitably seeing, right?
Yeah, that's in my head forever.
And didn't you say the baby just looked so peaceful? Like, his eyes were closed, and he was just, like...
his head is just sticking out. He was there chilling.
Because I asked him, I was like, well, what was he doing? Was he, like, looking around? That would be weirder, though, right? Could you imagine if he was, like, looking at you, like, Daddy? Daddy? Oh, gosh. So, anyways, they helped me get out of the pool. I see a pillow and, like, a Chuck's pad in our hallway. Oh, my baby. Give me this thing. Sorry. He's trying to wake up. Okay. Gotta hurry this story up. So, they helped me out of the pool, and I see a pillow and a Chuck's pad on the ground in the hallway. And they're like, go ahead, get on your hands and knees. So, I get on my hands and knees, and they tell me to push, and I'm like pushing, and I could just feel like their hands like trying to like pull, like shimmy some things open, and I'm pushing, and then they're like, no, they're like, get on your back, and I was like, I'm still a big pregnant lady with a baby's head between my legs on my hands and knees, and I'm like, and also I've been in a pool for hours, so I feel really heavy too, when you get out of swimming, like your body feels really heavy. So I was like, I need help, someone help me on my back. Man, somebody help me on that back. They like just push me over. I'm on my back. As soon as I get on my back, they like lift up my leg, and I started to get a Charlie horse in my thigh, and I was trying to say Charlie horse, but they're like push. I was like, ah. And once again, they're like pulling the baby, and then like after like just a few, and it didn't feel good because like he said, it was very peaceful and everything was great before that. And then they're just like pulling on this area that just had like a pretty big trauma happen to it. But needless to say, a few seconds later, the baby comes out, and I literally feel his body slide out, and then they put him on me, and the relief is immediate. And it was that euphoric moment I was looking for. It was a moment of shock. Like I didn't realize the baby was on me, and then the baby was on me, and I think the first thought I had when I looked at the baby was, he was just so beautiful. I thought he might be born blue, or like with a whole bunch of white vernix on him. How babies can look kind of alienish when they're first born. He looked like pink skin to me, like they looked like regular skin and just like a regular baby to me. And so I just started kind of like crying a bit on it, telling everybody, oh, he's so beautiful, Leslie, he's so beautiful, and let me tell you though too, yeah, well, it doesn't matter, I just missed that part. But anyways, that's things were good. My mom was on FaceTime, like I said, my sister, everybody, they're telling me congratulations, and everybody's like, oh, so happy, blah, blah, blah. And then, after a few minutes, my mom gets off of FaceTime, and yeah, well, right before the baby's head came out, they were telling me that, oh, by the way, it's been another 5 hours since you peed, so if you aren't able to get any progress here soon, we're going to have to do another catheter, or maybe you want to go on the bathroom and try to go to the bathroom. But I wasn't being able to move at that point. So fast forward, I'm on the floor. I have the baby on me. My mom and sister get off of FaceTime. And I feel what I think is peeing. And so I said, hey guys, I think I'm finally peeing. And my midwife looks down and she says, oh shit. Guys, when your medical professional says that, I wasn't scared. I was just like, well, apparently it wasn't pee. I started to hemorrhage, and that was blood I could feel, like just this warm liquid like falling out of me. And so I still had the placenta in me. So they were telling me, okay, we need to get the placenta out. We really need you to push. Now, after you just push the baby out, you don't feel like you're pushing anymore. You can't feel that sensation. So I was doing what I thought was pushing. I could feel her pulling on the cord a little bit. And then finally, like, the blob of the placenta came out of me too. And I could just feel more and more of the gushing of the blood. And now let me tell you, when she said, oh, shoot, and I pushed out the placenta, at this point, that was a whole nother vibe. It was an emergency vibe at that point. Mm-hmm. She was yelling, like, get the Pitocin, get the IVs, get the, I don't know what else she was yelling. She's like, we need to stop this bleeding. She's bleeding. Somebody call 911. I mean, when she said call 911, I was like, yeah. I'll let you speak in a second. I just remember I wasn't freaking out. I wasn't like that. What I was doing is I just kept looking at everybody's faces. Like I kept looking at my mom's face, my mother-in-law's face, the midwife's face, just trying to like read the room, honestly, because I was kind of shocked as to what was going on. And I could feel the blood coming out of me. And what I know is that when too much blood has been lost, you will pass out. And that's what I was afraid of, is I was just afraid that it was going to go dark. And when she said call 911, I was like, am I about to pass out and wake up in a hospital? Am I about to pass out and not wake up at all? And so I remembered someone telling me, just look at your baby. So I started looking at the baby, and I was kind of getting emotional in my head then. I was thinking, I'll be honest, my thought was, God, like, why would you bring this baby into the world for me, this to be our only time together? Like that would, I was kind of like, don't let that be, And Leslie was the one that had to call 911 because he was the only one there besides myself that knew our address. So he was away from me. And after the fact, I told him, if I'm ever almost dying again, you better be right there with your hand, holding my hand and your face on my face, because if there's anybody I wanted to be with, if that was the moment, I would want it to be you, baby. And so, but yeah, it was like me and the baby. How did you feel at that point?
Well, it wasn't you and the baby.
Well,
Because
Tamaya
one thing
was
started
there,
to
right?
happen. They gave me the baby. So I was standing up there
Someone...
holding the baby and everything was going on. So I'm like standing. I'm not like over her. I'm kind of like a ways by the kitchen table, and she was like in the hallway. Mm-hmm. And they told me, they gave me the phone, told me to call the ambulance. And I was there holding the baby, the newborn baby. He's like looking up at me, and I'm just like, it was a different feeling, right?
Surreal.
Because I'm standing there, and it's like, in my mind, I know this is not my area of expertise at all. If you need something built, if you need me to jimmy rig something, I could do that. But to assist you, to keep you alive, like to stop blood, that's not me. So I kind of felt the feeling of like helplessness. Like I was just standing there, like watching it all play out. I'm holding the baby, and it was just like helplessness. I can't do anything. Just like pray. That's it. And I was just looking at your face on the floor. You just had this like you said, you were just looking around the room. You weren't really showing much emotion. Mm-hmm. I feel like you were kind of just nervous / scared.
I was shocked.
Yeah, that's exactly the look like you had on your face. Like it was just like you didn't know what was going on. Like I feel like you were in your head a lot, but I was just standing there with the baby and trying to give these guys instructions on how to get to the place. And I wouldn't say a thought crossed my mind where it's like where I worried like if this would be if this would be the end or something. But it was kind of a scary moment, I'd say.
I would say that, I mean, it did happen pretty quickly. I feel like, how long do you think it was from when that happened and the paramedics got there? Like about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I think it's probably about, I mean, I don't have a concept of time during it, guys, but it was probably about 10 minutes. And they had got the bleeding to stop by the time the paramedics got there. One of the other things that's like, it probably would have been really painful if I wasn't in shock was they're like, when you're hemorrhaging like that, they like take their hands and they like dig inside you and like scrape like inside, like they're trying to see if there's any clots. So like I remember that happening. She's like, I got to put my hands inside you and make sure there's no clots. And I was like, I don't even, whatever, do what you got to do. But they gave me like a shot or two of Pitocin in my leg. They got me hooked up on an IV. And so by the time the paramedics got there, like the blood had stopped and I was able to decide to not go to the hospital because like I said, they got it to stop. So yeah, it was a little bit of a, there's your climax for you. You said anticlimactic the few days before. There's the climax. Yeah. But luckily they got it to stop. And I love that, you can feel like your midwives, if you're having an unmedicated birth, you might feel everything, but they are there to stop emergencies. And even if that had continued to happen, look, the paramedics were here. They have more, drugs and things that they have in their ambulance. I would have made it to a hospital if need be. So, for anybody considering a home birth that's like, well, what if something happens? They have plans for that. If my baby wasn't breathing, they have plans for that. If there was anything wrong, they have plans for that, Mm-hmm. So I was able to stay home. We were able to get in the bed and, get tucked in and all that good stuff. So long story short, the reason I named this my positive birth story is because even though it was painful, even though a scary thing happened at the end, I'm amazed at what a woman's body can do. I'm almost 4 weeks postpartum and I went through a pregnancy. I grew from a sperm and an egg, literally a baby in my womb. And then I gave birth to him and now I'm feeding him from my breasts. And it's insane what a woman's body can do. And I just feel very proud of myself for being able to do it. And, if you were asking me honestly if I would do it again, I think that I will do it again from home. Although, I think I will do it from home because if I'm in a birth center or a hospital, y'all, I'm taking those drugs. Like, if I was anywhere near drugs, I would have taken them. So I think that being away from them helped me stay strong and kind of just go ahead and finish out what I was wanting to do. And the baby was able to come in the world with fully alert because his eyes were wide awake when he came out.
Yeah. And, just the whole experience was, I'd never forget, hands down. It's definitely one of the best experiences I've had in my life. Just to see you go through that. And just thinking, you know, they say hindsight is 2020, but just thinking about how everything planned out, the fact that, and I definitely feel like God had made this so that if he did come on time, we would have to give birth while having COVID. And my symptoms were worse. Thank God Tikoya's, she had slight symptoms.
I was barely nothing, yeah.
But mine was definitely worse. But the fact that she didn't give birth on that time, the time he was supposed to come, his due date was actually delayed. And I think it was definitely by God. It was God's doing, so that he can come when we're feeling better and when we've, you know, beaten COVID. And also, if he did come while we had COVID, I don't think all of the midwives would have even been there. We would have had one. Yeah. So just to think, God forbid, if you did hemorrhage with one person being there, how would have that played out? You know, how would that? I mean,
there would have been another one on, you know, like here, just not inside the house. But yeah, it definitely worked out the way it, you know, all in God's plan. You know, like God's plan really. Hashtag Drake. Yeah.
But he don't pay us for these episodes.
He don't pay us for these episodes. We gotta take that out now. But yeah, you can definitely see the divine intervention throughout all of it. I couldn't have done this without, like I said, calling on God multiple times. So, yeah, I'm just very happy that it's done. I'm very happy that I'm on the other side of it, honestly. And what they say about birth amnesia, it's so true. Like, I had to write notes about what happened because it feels like so far away. Like, it feels like it was forever ago that I was pregnant. It feels like it was forever ago that happened. And, you know, honestly, praise God, like, my body's healing up really well as well. So, feels like nothing ever happened. I'm not nothing. I still remember it. Yeah. You said it's something you'll never forget, and I'm like, I hope so. I hope I do. If you want another kid, let's hope I forget. No,
right, man, I can't win any arguments because she will always beat me. Did you give birth? I'll just say, well, no, you got me there. 10 years later, and you're still using this. All right.
Yeah, it's like.
But yeah, well, you know, I would say that since you went through that experience, I think it's fitting to ask you, is there any advice that you would give someone that may be considering taking the path that you took?
Okay, one thing I will say, especially because the baby was a week late, and honestly, I thought he was coming from 37 weeks, so we pretty much for a month thought the baby would come any day now. I was watching a lot of positive birth stories on YouTube, and if you are doing hypno birthing or you want to have a home birth, that's definitely something you should do. However, take it with a grain of salt because it was actually kind of hard for me during my birth. You know, I watched all these 10, 15 minutes, up to 30-minute YouTube videos of people giving birth, and I guess psychologically I had kind of built up this thought that birth was quick or that it wasn't, you know, so many women, like, they're giving birth silently, and I don't know, you know, maybe it's not their first child or maybe they just have some, I don't know, but a lot of women, some women give birth like really peacefully looking, and they're just hemming and hawing, and they just bring the baby out of the water themselves. And because my birth wasn't like that, because I had like fear in my, you know, fear while I was having active labor and like pain or whatnot, it made me feel like something was wrong or I wasn't doing it right. So just know that however you give birth, whatever you feel is natural, and that's your birth, and it's okay. And I hope that my story doesn't scare you at all, because I did use the word pain and I did tell you what happened, because I am very proud of myself and I am very empowered with my birth. Even if we were transferred to the hospital and I had taken an epidural or I had to get a C-section, no matter what way this baby came into this earth, we women did it, and you should be proud of yourself for how it happened. So, you know, just know that no matter what, be proud of yourself.
Very well said, baby. But yeah, I think that's it. We're gonna sign off on this episode. Just want to say, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is very important for us, and you know, if you're listening, we consider you family as well, because we're sharing, you know, our family and our life experiences with you guys. So like always, feel free to message us on social media. Feel free to share with someone that you care about, someone that you think would enjoy the episode, or just share with your friends on social media. And if you can, leave a rating or a positive message. We really do appreciate that.
We do. Yes, connect with us. We would love to hear from you guys. But until our next episode, we will see you I don't think that makes sense. But until our next episode, we will... I don't know what to say. What am I saying? I lost a lot of blood during the birth, guys.
Anyways, guys. Until the next episode, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Peace.